Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our online session today. It's our second session, and it's the pleasure to have each of you joining us from the different part of the world. So I'm Arash Avajani. I'm a technical architect from the Vancouver, Canada. So today we have an exciting session, and we have a special guest, Allan de Castro. Allan is a Power Platform senior consultant from Avanade, and we are incredibly actually fortunate to have Allan with us today. So I'm going to introduce a little about the Microsoft Learn community. So let me share my correct screen here. Okay. So Microsoft Learn is actually you know that the Microsoft Learn is a learning space that we interact with every day. So we are, when you are looking into learn a topic about Microsoft product, the first site that you refer to, it's Microsoft Learn. So in Microsoft Learn, in addition to information and educational content, there are also a great tech community, and actually the Microsoft Learn community is a collection of experience offering learners with a variety of ways to connect and engage with other learners and technical experts to increase expertise on the topic that matter most to learners and achieve career goals. So actually in the Microsoft tech community, there are so many learning rooms that you can join them and also learn from the Microsoft Learn expert, and someone that want to share the knowledge and experience with you. So Power Platform Zero to Hero is one of the Microsoft Learn's learning room, and which has more than 1,500 members. And actually, if you are not a member at our tech community, you can join us through this link. Let me put the link here. Where is that? Here, this one. So ak.ms/powerplatform0 to hero. So also currently Microsoft Learn actually started a challenge with it's an interesting news that Microsoft Learn is holding a challenge in Microsoft Build, and it's called Build Edition. So it's a good opportunity for you to improve your skills around the AI, and also improve your knowledge in the following AI fields. It's Azure AI, Microsoft Fabric, GitHub, Copilot for Microsoft 365, and Copilot Studio. So at the end of the challenge, you will also receive the digital badge. So register now through the following link. It's aka.ms/msbuild challenge. So each challenge offers a variety of resources designed to expand your skill set and empower your career. So the build will be a start actually, and will be held from the May 21st to May 23rd. So you can pre-register right now through the following URL. Okay, so before we begin, a few important notes here. If you have any question during the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box. So we will have a dedicated Q&A session toward at the end. And the next one is the session is being recorded for those who couldn't join us live, and will be available shortly in the Power Platform Zero to Hero YouTube channel. Okay, all right. So I'm going to add the Allan to the stage. So we are looking forward to gaining valuable insight from you, Allan. And without any delay, I will hand it over to you to start your presentation. So here, Allan, hello.
Hello.
It's afternoon, right? So good afternoon. Can you please introduce yourself and start your session? I'm going to share your
Sure.
presentation file here and the stage on yours.
Thanks a lot, Arash. So hello, everyone, and welcome for this Power Platform Zero to Hero session. So today we'll talk about the Power Platform CLI. And as I mentioned, it will be an introduction session where we'll discover how to use it and why to use it, but also some dedicated use case where it can be relevant to use it. So before going to the contents, I will just explain who I am. So my name is Allan de Castro. I'm a solution architect around Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. I'm based in Paris and I'm working at Allan, France. So I mainly come from the Dynamics world. I have like 8 years of experiences with Dynamics, the CRM part for sure. And so basically, I'm also a business application MVP since 3 years. Maybe 4, depending on the renewal process, you know. And you can find all my social network here, LinkedIn especially, where I post like twice a week about new feature, about tips, etc., with a dedicated video. So feel free to follow me. You can also access to my Twitter account and my personal blog, where I post some step-by-step tutorials sometime about a specific feature. So today, as we talk about the Power Platform CLI, and it can be a huge topic. So we'll first start with, I would say, an introduction part, an introduction chapter, where we'll talk about why we are here talking about the CLI, to understand what it is, what feature it will bring, and what it will allow us as developers, as solution architect, etc. Then we'll switch to the second part, where we'll just see how to set up, meaning installing the CLI, or we can start using it with some basic command to just log in to a dedicated tenant environment, etc. And then we'll go to the main content part, the most interesting parts, the use case demo, where we'll try to tackle 2 use cases, how to perform some environment management stuff and solution management, leveraging the Power Platform CLI. So the aim of this session is for sure to give you an introduction, to provide you some useful feedback to how to leverage the Power Platform CLI as an entry point. You will see that it's huge, so feel free to continue learning path about the CLI. So let's start with the introduction. So why we are talking about the CLI, and here the concept is to understand why we do have now a Power Platform CLI and what it will bring you, what it will offer to you on your daily activity, basically, okay? Because we must think about that. Even if it's a new tool, etc., we must understand why it's interesting to use it. Basically, some times ago, I would say, before the Power Platform era, Microsoft built several solutions, several tools. Sometimes it's dedicated tool like configuration migration tool, plugin registration tool, package deployer, etc. are used to accomplish some dedicated tasks, some technical tasks for a dedicated environment, you know. And every time we needed a thing, a feature or something, etc., Microsoft built a tool dedicated for this specific use case. And so it led to us, like we have a SDK for sure, we have dedicated tools, we have an API, we have sometimes PowerShell modules, and it was quite complex sometimes to have access to everything, to know every tools, because we wanted to do this or this, and so we needed a dedicated tools. And so, and also, sometimes we should leverage the API, but sometimes not everything is documented or supported, etc. So it was a little bit complex for the dev experience. in his daily life to understand which tool he must use, etc. So basically, Microsoft wanted to provide something quite easy to use, like a single entry point for the developer, for the technical architect, where he can access to the dedicated tool and with some other functionality to do some administration works, etc. And some of these tools were just like a combination. So sometimes meaning you wanted to leverage to accomplish something, and you needed to leverage tools and PowerShell script, etc. And so as the Power Platform come to the market, I would say Microsoft invested in several areas, but also in the developer experience, which is quite great. So the Power Platform CLI, before it was called basically the Power Apps CLI, so now it's a Power Platform CLI. It's quite huge now. And the aim was to provide to the developer a single experience, whatever your favorite operating system, if you prefer to use Windows, Linux, Macintosh, we don't really care with the CLI. And it's also the case with your favorite software. If you're using a Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, if you are using some Allan tool like GitHub, Azure DevOps, etc., everything mentioned here can use the Power Platform CLI. And so the Power Platform CLI was quite interesting because it's like acting as an abstracted layer of all the existing tools, like the solution packager, the package deployer, etc., the Power Platform API, the BIP API, which is not very known, basically. And so it provides a single entry point to have access to everything, and it's also available on, I would say, all operating systems and from our favorite tools. But it's not only that, because it provides us some new feature to manage some dedicated components where we have like no tool available. Like, for example, Power Pages. Since years ago, if you wanted to deploy Power Pages and projects, you needed to use the community tool XRM Toolbox. Now we have a way with the command line to do this automatically, and it's also available to the Power Platform build tools. For example, if you wanted to start a PCF project, you needed to use a Power Platform command line now to init your PCF project with a PCF init command, etc. So it's a good way now because everything is centralized with the Power Platform command line. So it's something very valuable for us, either from our daily life, I would say, but also if you want to automate some stuff that are maybe sometimes not available yet, etc. If we go into the Power Platform CLI capabilities, it's basically, we have like 22 different command group available. So it's definitely huge, and we'll not cover everything here. As I said, it's more a first hand-on session here, and we'll target the command group highlighted in blue here. So we'll start with some basic stuff, how we can authenticate, how we can work with our Dataverse organization. Then we'll see how we can administer our environments, update some settings, etc. And as you can see, there is some other stuff quite interesting. For example, we also have some tools for the Copilot Studio capabilities. We also have some preview feature for sure, like the pack test, for example. If you are using the Power Apps test engine, you have some way to trigger some test suite. You also have the pack PowerFX one, which is quite incredible. And I think that I will show you this one too in this session, as it can be very interesting, especially for the makers, for the functional consultants, because you will be able to manipulate some data using PowerFX directly within your terminal, within Visual Studio Code, etc. There is a thing quite important for you, is that the Power Platform CLI is used by the Power Platform build tools. What you can see on the bottom right corner, it's the Power Platform build tools. Okay, it's if you are using Azure DevOps, you install this extension to build your pipeline, your release, etc. And this is a view of the classic editor where you added some tasks. It's basically all of these tasks are based on the CLI now. Okay, and this is very good because if you want to have an overview of what's happening to the Power Platform build tools, you can be sure that if a new feature is available, it will be first available through the CLI and then through the build tools. And if you don't want to, or for any kind of reason, you can't use the extension, you can for sure leverage the Power Platform CLI by installing it manually with your agent, basically, and then execute all the command line as the tool, the build tool extension can do. So now we'll start the first part of this session where we talk about how to install the CLI and how we can start using it in an easy way, I would say, how to communicate with our environments. If you want to install the CLI right now, we have like 3 different methods. The first one will be to install it through Visual Studio Code extension. I will show you how, where you can just click and search for it using the extension menu, find the Power Platform tools, and then install it. In this case, it will be only available within your terminal in Visual Studio Code. This is quite important if you want to leverage your command line interface outside of Visual Studio. You can also install it with the .NET tool for sure, but you must be careful because sometimes some commands are not available if you're working on Windows and you're installing it using the .NET tool. And you can for sure install it in like the Windows way, I would say, using an executable. And so in this case, it will be available in PowerShell, but also in Visual Studio Code. Okay. If you want to first use the CLI, you will have to first create what we call a out profile. It's like a connection to your tenants. And you can either use the interactive way with the pack out create. It will just trigger you an interactive prompt where you can type your password, and then you will have access to all the CLI capabilities. The good point is that you can also use it to create a hot profile with a client ID, client secrets, or an app user. This is quite good if you do not want to use any kind of service accounts. Then you have some basic command to manage your profile. You can list them for sure. You can update them to provide them a correct name, because you can see that you can have a lot of profile, I would say, a lot of connection, and sometimes it can be a mess. So you can have a way to identify them with a naming, a proper naming. And then we'll see how we can select a dedicated environments, indicating a default environment for the connection. So like that, when you will perform any kind of command, it will use the selected environment. And for sure, you can delete some profile, some connection, etc. Great. So let's now start with the demo. So as you can see here, it's my Visual Studio Code. So if you want to install it from Visual Studio Code, you just have to go to the extension part here. And as you can see, you can type Power Platform. You will have a lot of commodity tools, but this is the one we're using here. And as you can see, it's the same logo as the Power Platform build tools, as it's based on the CLI. You will have some information about it for sure. You can have also some dedicated link like this one. I recommend you to follow all this series of Power Platform CLI exposed, which is quite great. They go very, very far on different topics like Power Pages, etc. So feel free to watch this. You will have access to some dedicated customization parameter. I will not explain you what it is right now, honestly. And you will have access to the changelog tab, where you can see what is included within the last release. And you can see that it was quite focused on Power Pages, and they also added the AI explain code, for example, etc. Once you downloaded it, you can for sure initiate up your connection. As you can see here, I will just close this page. I already have a hot profile because it's the one for my laptop, okay? But you can just click on new, and it will trigger an interactive prompt, and it will ask you for the target environment, which is this one for me, a password. So here we are basically using a name account. It's mine, okay? Oh, it will ask for the email field, I think. Oh, I'm just approving it. Great. Okay, it's loading here. And you will see that my old profile now is updated and I have a new one flagged as the one I will use, okay? For sure, you can delete an old one if you want, confirming it here. Okay. Once you are logged in, as you can see, you can have access to all your environments. And by clicking on it, you will have a view about all the solution installed, managed, and unmanaged. On this view, on the UI part, you can do a lot of things, honestly. You can say, for example, I will download the solution or anything, but it provides valuable information, especially if you need some IDs, etc. Okay. Now, you can, for sure, use your terminal here. We'll load it, and we'll use the CLI from the terminal. So, as mentioned, you have access to the list, the hot profile list, using the hot list. It's exactly what we are seeing on the left here. And as you can see, I have only one here. If we want to create a dedicated one, we can for sure, I think this one will not work. You can create a new connection using app registration as this syntax I'm showing right now. You must have indicate the app ID, the current secret, and the tenant ID. And here, it will just add a profile on my list, and for sure, I can switch to another one if needed. As you can see here, as I added it, it's selected. I can switch to the first one either by selecting the star icon, or I can do it manually by doing, I would say, select index 1. By doing this, I'm just telling him to select the first one in the list, and you will see that the star icon is at the first now. If you want to have a correct naming, because I know that it can be quite complex if you have SPN and there's only an ID, okay? So you can definitely update, for example, the first one, saying that it's the one I'm using right now, and you can update the name like this. And so you will have a dedicated display name, which is quite better, I would say. As you can see, it's updated right now. So you can do the same for the second one, indicating that it's a SPN here. And so like that, you will not be confused. Great. Let's go back now to the next, I would say, chapter, which is honestly the most interesting part, where we'll deep dive in some dedicated command regarding the environment management and the solution management. So let's deep dive into the first use case, how we can leverage the Power Platform CLI to address some environment management stuff. We have different kind of commands. We'll go through all of them. I selected 3 of them here. The first one is the pack org. This one will help us to have a list of all orgs available, so all your environments. It will also allow us to select a dedicated environment for our current connection. So like that, it will act as the default environment, as mentioned previously. So any kind of command you will perform will be done on this environment because you are using this connection. You will have access to some information regarding the org IDs, etc., quite easily. But the most interesting part with this command is you can update some settings. You may know that at the PPIC level, you have some settings available that you can turn on, turn off, like the copilot, for example, the flow solution aware stuff, etc. And everything is on the UI is on the PPIC level. And whenever you update settings, it then updates a dedicated field on the organization record from the organization table. And all environments only have one organization record within this table. And here we can use the CLI to list all of the settings, but also to update them. It's what we will do for the use case I will show you just after. The second one is the pack admin. Pack admin is very huge because you can, for example, manage the administration mode of an environment if you want to set up in an admin mode, etc. by choosing, for example, if you want to still have the asynchronous process, etc. You can also decide to list all the SPN available for this environment, but also to create a new one. This is quite great when you are creating an environment. You often want to have an application user. By using the backadmin command, you can create a service principal. So it will be created on Entra ID as an arbitration with appropriate, I would say, a permission, API permission with the grant admin, and then it will be created within Dataverse with the appropriate security role, and at the end, you will have the client secrets ready to use. You can also manage a backup thing, meaning that you can initiate a new backup, indicating a label. You can also manage backup retention, especially for managed environment, etc. You can ensure to extend it. Sometimes it's 7. You can go to 28 depending of your environment. In my case, it's a trial one, so I can, but you can depending on your environment type. We can also update some tenant setting, which is quite interesting. We talk about the org setting. It's at the environment level, but here it's at the tenant level. If you remember, if you go to the PPAC, you have on the left a menu where you do have now a settings menu, and you can have some setting available, like allowing system administrator to have access to the capacity summary for the storage, for example. You must update it from here. But here you can have an overview of all tenant settings. You can also update them, and you will see in this demonstration that some of them are not available in the URI. So it can be only updated from the PAC CLI. You can also force a user to sync with a dedicated environment with the assigned user. You can also assign a group, a security group, to a Dataverse environment to secure it, which is quite great. And also for sure, create some new environment, etc. So I already created one because it takes some time, honestly, but I will show you the command line, and you will see that we can create and indicate a lot of stuff like the regions, the currencies, etc., etc. And you can for sure perform some copy, delete, etc. So we have a way here to do a lot of stuff. Then the last one, reading the environment management, and honestly, I really love this one because it provides us a way to install application from app source, for example, using the CLI. I'm sure that you already, for example, developed some projects using, I don't know, the creator kit or the approval flow solution, etc. And you needed to install it manually, okay? In this case, you can do it for sure using the CLI in a dev way, I would say, but you can also have an overview of all application installed, which is quite great because you can also store them, for example, and and so with all of this commands, you can imagine to create a new environment with the appropriate settings at the organization level, with a good security group, with a good user inside already synchronized. You can also start to install some first-party app, etc., etc. And this is exactly what we are going to see right now. I will show you how to create a new environment targeting a dedicated region. For us, it will be a United States with a Sales Pro application, so Dynamics 365 first-party application, or we can secure it with a security group I already created previously. How we can create a service principal dedicated to this environment, so like that we can not only provide the environment to the person requesting it, but also provide to him a SPN available. We'll ensure to have at least a user synchronized with a specific role, which is quite well because you can go very far by indicating that this user already in the security group must be added into this business unit, and he must have this security role. You can manage it using the CLI. As mentioned, we will leverage a back application command to install the flow approval solution. So instead of going to the target environment and run a flow, which include approval solution action, so like that it starts the installation process. That's usually the way we are doing to install this solution from Microsoft. We can do it using the CLI. And then we'll update two different settings, the capacity consumption one in threshold. If you are over capacity, you know that you will receive a mail. And in this case, we will just update the threshold. So like that, if you want to be informed at 70%, it's possible. We'll also update some organization settings like the flow solution aware settings, etc. So basically here we are covering a use case where we'll be able to create a new environment with some dedicated settings all through the CLI. Great, so now I will switch to the demo, and so I'm coming back with my Visual Studio here, and what we will start is I will just show you honestly the pack org first to show you that I have like 3 environments. This is exactly the same thing as you can see on the left, and you will see that my production environment is already created, so I will just show you I would say the command line I did before, which was this one. So that with a it will try to create one. You can indicate a naming, you can indicate a region. So yeah, it's failing because it's already created, so there's no problem. And I'm reaching the trial limit here. You can specify the type of your environment. So in my case, it's a trial, okay. The domain name. So as you can see here, that's why we have a pppro.crm.dynamics.com. You can indicate an application. Here it's the Sales Pro and the security group ID. Okay. In my case, I will start to work with this prod environment, so I can first select the environment. So like that, I ensuring that with my profile, with my authentication profile I'm using, everything, every kind of command will be performed to this environment. Okay. The first thing quite interesting is that you can have a view of all application installed. As mentioned, you can leverage the pack application to have a list of all installed. As you can see here, you can have like a stage here, and you can also download the content to a JSON file and targeting a dedicated environment. It will allow you to basically have a view of what is installed on my environments. Okay, and here is the result. As you can see, we have lots of things installed with the unique name. This is the name used when you want to install an app using the Pack CLI. Okay. One thing, as I mentioned, we often need, to use an app user. So normally you currently go to the prod environments, and if you already created your app registration, you will go to the app user section here to try to create the app user within your environment in the correct business units. It's loading here, but if you want to do it, it's normally from the PPIC here, and you click on here, server to server apps, okay? And you will see that I have nothing right now within this view, okay? So what we'll do right now is to create, so for that, it will be a simple command. Here, I'm just asking him to create a new service principal called Application User Power Platform, and it must be added to this dedicated environment with this security role. And as you can see here, we already have the Entra ID application created, okay? And it's just trying to add the app user into my environment. So if I go back here, you will see that normally I have nothing here, okay? But it's not refreshing, but you will see that here it's done, and you have the client secret available, and it will be going back to the server section. And so this is a good way, honestly, when you want to provide an environment with an appropriate app user, it's normally already available, okay? Let me just so this is quite interesting, okay? can force the sync of a user, meaning that sometime we created an environment, okay, and we want to, okay, oh, maybe a connector issue, okay, that we want to create a user. So we do have a license is already included within the security group, and we'll just ensure that this user using this email address is sync with the Dataverse environment and with this security role. We can for sure indicate the business unit too, but we must provide, honestly, the GYD, the grid of the business units that I do not have right now, but you can imagine to do it programmatically, and so like that, it will be available. So it's finished here. So normally it will be here. As you can see, we now have Allan Steiner, and if we are checking the security role, you will see that is included in the root business units, the default one, and you do have the salesperson security role. If we scroll down, we'll see it here. Okay. Great. So now, if we continue the use case here, we can also install the MSDN flow approval solution by doing exactly this syntax. Here, we are leveraging the pack application by indicating that we want to target this unique name. If you remember, there is a dedicated list, honestly, that you can find all the unique name for a solution that you want to install, and we can select a dedicated environment. So here, I'm just trying to install the flow approval solution within my prod environments. As it will take some time, I will honestly start a new PowerShell here, okay, to continue the use case and show you some other kind of commands. So as you can see, it's starting here. It will done as a solution, and it will try to, I would say, pull the status. So now we'll focus on another one. As I mentioned, we have some tenant settings available at the PPAC level on the settings button of the menu, and we can access to them using this command group here, pack admin, list tenant setting. And as you can see, we have a lot of settings available. Some of them are quite well known, I will say, but you will see that you can have access to them as it's in a JSON format here, okay. And you can also update them. I mentioned previously that you can update, for example, the storage capacity consumption here, as you can see. By default, it's 90%. It's in percentage here. We'll see how we can update it. Basically, I created a JSON file. It will open right now, okay. It's the same contents that I'm showing you. I will just update here, for example, to, I don't know, 50%. If you want to be notified about this consumption, that's only 50%. We'll close the file now, okay. And then you can update the setting using the JSON file. You will leverage the packadmin update tenant setting command by indicating a file directly, the one I just updated using Notepad, okay. I will go through the, okay, as you can see, the flow approval is in progress, and we have a polling here checking the status of the installation. Okay, so as you can see here, when we update the settings, it provides us as the output the result. So we'll just ask again for the tenant setting to ensure that it's updated. Up, and as you can see here, it's 50. Now we know how to update some tenant setting, which is quite great, but it's at the tenant level. So honestly, you will not do it every time you create a new environment or etc. Another one quite interesting when we talk about settings, it's the pack org list settings. We can have so this is basically based on the organization record within the organization table of all environments. Okay, as you can see, we have some out of the box field well known. Okay, so we have lots of settings available here, okay? And some of them are well known, I would say. So if you want, for example, to target some specific one, you can for sure search for dedicated, I would say, for all parameter what contains a specific string or char or anything. Here I'm just asking for all settings, including flow in the name. So by doing this, I will have a list. Okay, so here it means that all of the settings are available to be updated at the PPSC level normally, and I can target a specific one. So if I want to update one, I can for sure. For example, as you may know, now all Cloudflow history are, hosted, stored in Dataverse, okay? And we have some dedicated settings to ensure, for example, that they will be deleted for specific time, etc. And we have, I will let you check on the documentation, but as you can see here, I'm updating one of them. And if I checking if it's well updated, you will see that this one is normally updated. Okay, great. If you love governances, for example, you want always to ensure that your user will build a flow, but in a solution. And you can for sure update the same and in the same way a dedicated settings saying that all flow must be in solution by default. So like that, you are ensuring that you will not have some flow outside of solutions that will not be shipped, etc., etc. And yep, it's updated here. And if we look into all the settings, you will see that now it's set to yes here. Okay. Okay, it's still pulling, so we'll maybe move forward, but as you can see, is in progress. Now we'll go back to the slide parts as I want to show you something else now. We address a use case of getting the environment management parts. Now we'll talk about the solution management. For solution management, we have a lot of features, not only this one, okay, but this one are quite important. I will show you why. The pack solution is like the primary one to use for list all solution, export, clone, to init a new solution, etc. You can also add some component to an existing solution, and you can export and import a solution by changing your selected environment. You can also have the pack connection, which is quite great if you are working a lot with Power Automate, and you know that when you are deploying, you must indicate the connection ID using the deployment setting file, and so you must create this connection in the target environment. Using the CLI, you can do it for Dataverse, which is quite great because you can create the connection and then at least at the beginning before your deployment, and so you can ensure that there is a connection available. So for this use case, I will show you a lot of stuff about the solution part, meaning that we can init a solution from my desktop, not from the online makers. We'll see how to create selecting files, or we can import solution, but also how we can export a solution, add a component, meaning that we can add programmatically a component type to a solution, etc. And then at the end, how we can, delete a solution. Great. So this is another huge demo that will occur right now. So let me switch back to my Visual Studio, and as you can see now, the flow approval solution is installed. So we are ready to use our environments. Okay, so now I will do something quite interesting. I will create a new folder here. Okay, I will go into it. And I will start to build a new solution, meaning I will create it locally and not from the maker, which is not an usual way, I know, but it can work. And it's quite great from the dev point of view that we can create the solution like this. Here, I'm just creating a new solution like this, saying that I'm using this publisher, this is this prefix, and here you will see what will happen. So if we look into the folder, we have src here, folder, okay, and we have just the other folder with, I will show you the XML. Okay. Okay, I'm coming back to the folder here. Now, let's imagine that you are building a solution here locally. You can for sure, for example, use the .NET task. It will try to build your solution, for example, and you will see that's how we can generate our zip, our managed solution, etc. So it's an unmanaged, okay, one, but you will see that if I go now to my folder, I have a new bin folder, so I can go into it. You will see that I have a debug folder as usual, and if we look into it, you will see that I have my solution. Okay. The good point is that you can for sure, for example, add a new Git repository. I'm doing it right now, so we have now the trunk and branches, and let's imagine that you commit, for example, something. Okay, you can have, or we can leverage also the source control stuff here if you open it, and we can also create some stuff from here, commit it directly in our branches, and also ensure that, I mean, we can publish it from here too, but we can also synchronize it. If your solution is already available in our target environments, in your target environment, you can do a pack solution sync. We try to look into my solution here. It's not yet available. This is quite normal, but that's how you can do to ensure that you have locally the last change from your online environments. Okay. Now we'll start our use case using, I will switch to a new one, it will be quite better. We'll now use the dev environment. So by doing this, you can be sure that now the dev environment is selected. It's refreshing here, okay? And my first use case will be to know how many solutions I do have. So I can leverage the pack solution list commands, and you will see that I have all my solutions here for my dedicated environments, and we'll use this one for our use case. As you can see, the version is 1.0, so we can for sure update it. Let's imagine that you are working on it. And as you can see here, we are leveraging the pack solution online version command group. It means that we have another way to update the version in case you are using your local solution. As I showed previously, if you init a local solution, you can update it with another command group, and in this case, it's update automatically the XML file, and it will not perform a set online version action, I would say, on the environment side. Okay, so here it's just performing it's just changing the version of my environment. So if I go back here, you will see that if I go to the make.powerapps.com, I'm selecting my environment, you will see that it will change to 2.0. It will take some time here. Okay, I will go to my solution. Dev environment is selected. And you will see my training solution. Okay, so for sure it's a managed one, so it's 1.0, okay, but it will be updated to 2.0 once it's finished here. It takes some time, sorry, but it will basically works. I hope so. I think that maybe I do have some network issue. Let's maybe, okay, interrupt it. Well, anyway, switch to the other one. Otherwise, I think that we'll not have a lot of time. I will just check if, okay, I will just delete my solution first. Okay, so here I have nothing locally. And I will just try to export my solution. So you see that I do have an unmanaged solution called training solution, and I will just export everything. So you have some dedicated optional arguments that you can leverage. Yeah, I'm just exporting like everything inside, etc., with all general settings, etc. And I'm doing it in my root folder here, so it will be available from here. So it will take some time for sure. So I will show you something quite interesting first. As we are waiting, okay. If you remember, I already discussed at the beginning, I mentioned that we have some preview common group sometime. So perhaps the backstory test is in preview, and we have also the PowerFX one. And I will show you the PowerFX one because it can be quite interesting, honestly. So if you are selected, for example, your environment, I'm just checking on which environment I'm working on. Okay, so it will tell me. Okay, so here the export is finished. I just finished the PowerFX part. Okay, I'm working on Nev environment. Okay, so now I can leverage the PowerFX common group, this one, with this arguments. It will start like an interactive console. You will see it, allowing me to interact with my environments using some PowerFX. So here I'm just asking how many accounts I do have, and I do have the answer. So I can for sure do whatever I want, okay? So you will see that some, I would say, features are not implemented yet for sure. You can call, for example, environment stuff, a custom API like this, as we can do in the Canvas app, for example. It's not possible yet, but anyway, it's quite interesting to have a way to do some data update, etc. like this. You can manipulate the data like this. Another good thing with that is that we can create a script, for example, with all PowerFX syntaxes and run it in WAL. Here, I'm just asking to run a PowerFX script, as you can see, with all the output, meaning I will have all the formula and the outputs. So if I click on Enter, I will see that it's already a predefined script. I can open to it for you after. And you will see that we have a command first, we have a control, we have a patch. So it's just trying to patch the first account with a new name here. As you can see, you have a result. We are selecting the first account here, and we are again asking for a patch. This is quite incredible, and it provides to you, not only for the makers, but even for dev purpose, a way to manipulate the data. Okay. So now let's go back to our solution. So as you can see, it's finished. So if I check, I can see I do have a training solution manage here because I exported it as manage, okay? And you can do some interesting thing. For example, you can have the unpack action. So I'm just asking to unpack my zip file to a dedicated folder, training solution manage, okay? And up, I can go for sure into it to show you. And I have everything included with app module, Canvas apps, entities, etc. Quite great. If some of you are using, for example, the solution checker, you can also trigger it from here, meaning that you can ask to the solution checker to check a local solution, but not from the makers. By doing this, here I'm just asking him to check the solution that I previously downloaded locally and provide the outputs here, and I'm targeting the United States endpoint. By doing this, you will see that it will ask a dedicated API on Microsoft side and sending my solution. Okay, it will process it and provide to me some file. I mean, it will be a link Oh, it's already finished. And you have a link here that you can click on it for sure. And it will basically bring you to you will download a zip file, and inside you will have all rule checked, etc., with the critical stuff, etc., etc. So this is quite interesting if you want to control what you are doing right now. Another thing is that you can also add some components. For example, here I'm just saying that I will add a specific component type, which is basically an entity, a table called ADC Power Platform, which is a component type 1. And I'm adding this table to my solution. So it will be added in my dev environments. I will add an existing table within my existing solution, which is unmanaged, okay? And you will see that if I open the makers, it's added. So now I have a table included. So for sure, you can manage, for example, the publish part. So if you are working with a local solution, as I created previously, and you set it up, your Git repository, you can for sure publish and push on your branches, okay? So I will not do it because it takes some time, but it's worked very well. And now, if you want to deploy this solution, as you can see, you must generally, as we have a Power Automate using the Dataverse connector, we must have a deployment setting file, okay, that will be used to deploy into another environment. So if we look into it, it's something well known now, but I will just open it for you. It looks like this. So I generated this file, okay. So we have a connection reference called ADC_Dataverse connection using the Dataverse connector, and we have no connection ID, okay. Because if I want to deploy it to my to the next environment, I must for sure have a connection ID, okay. To do that, I can for sure connect manually to the environments, or I can do it programmatically by using the pack connection command group. So first, I will ensure to connect to the next environment, so the int here, the integration one, and you will see that it's a fresh environment. So normally, I will not have any kind of connection for my Power Automate, for my connection reference. So if I do pack connection list, you will see that I have absolutely and nothing, okay. Okay, I have nothing. So you can just create a new one like this. So here I'm in, so I'm not sure that it will find the application ID, honestly. We'll see. Okay, great. So now if we are doing the connection list, you will see that we'll have now a connection available here with the correct naming, targeting the CDS connector, so it's Dataverse for sure. Okay. So now if we want to import our solution, we can just provide the solution import. Here I did not use any kind of argument, so for sure we can use an argument using the deployment setting file with the new connection ID that we created for this specific environment, so we can ensure that the solution is imported with the appropriate connection ID. So here it will take some time. I'm not sure that will go until the end of it, but this is how we can manage, end-to-end process where we can init a locally, I would say, a solution, start to create a Git repository, synchronize with it, add some change, etc., push it to the target environment using the pack solution import, make again some change, commit it again, etc. Okay, we have some violation here because I think that the connection is not, oh no, because I have some DLP, my bad. Okay, so if we go back to another solution, to another, for example, environment, it will work. This one is manage one, it's working anyway. We can trigger it again. So this is a way how you can leverage the CLI for solution management. Okay, this is very awesome. Honestly, I love to use it because you can do some stuff that you can't normally with existing tools, etc. And also because you can for sure script everything you want. Okay, you can add a new PowerShell script and script all the Power Platform CLI command in a single PowerShell script and execute all of them in sequence. So like that, you can create a dedicated script for creating a new environment with these parameters, etc., etc., etc. So this is quite interesting, and that's why I'm loving it. Okay, great. Now I think it's like the end of this session. So if you want to go and to move forward with the CLI, etc., here are some useful links. For sure, the documentation part, the NuGet package available. You can have access to the GitHub project, etc., and you can see some issue, etc. You have the Power Live video explaining the CLI for Power Platform, and you have also this wonderful, this is my favorite one, a series of videos, Power Platform CLI Exposed, where you can have a deep dive on all command group, Power Pages, copilots, etc., etc. So feel free to watch them, as it's very, 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 very interesting. Thanks a lot for your attendance. I hope that you loved it, and I hope that you learned a lot of stuff. I think that I will let Rush maybe. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 3 minutes extra. So thank you so much, Alan. It was a cool session. So I was interesting about the topic and the commands that you apply, to your tenant. So for myself, I tried to use the pack command to package the solution, and unpack the solution. It was a few command line that I used. In my Power Platform area. But it was interesting, that we can use the command against the Power FAX, and querying, the Dataverse table. So it was interesting, actually, things for me as well.
Great. Nice to know.
Yeah.
So very happy.
Thank you so much. I'm checking that we don't have any question here in our chat box here. So I hope everyone enjoyed this session. So hopefully see you again in our next session next week, and have a great time. Thank you, Alan, for joining us today.
Great. Thanks a lot, all. Have a nice day.
Bye. Bye.